You're listening to an Airwave Media Podcast.
Welcome to From Beneath the Hollywood Sign. If you love old movies, Hollywood history, or the golden age of filmmaking, you've come to the right place. This is the podcast that talks about amazing stories of Tinseltown from another era and fascinating conversations with writer-producer Steve Cubine and actress-writer Nan McNamara.
So, Steve, did Ava Gardner and Howard Hughes have a good relationship?
Well, they did until he dislocated her jaw.
What?
Well, don't worry. She hit him back with an ashtray.
From Beneath the Hollywood Sign is the gin joint for you.
Recorded in Chicago, Illinois, with your hosts, Ken, Matt, Neil, and Jeff. This
Can you dig it?
Hello and welcome to Triviality, the game where a lack of seriousness meets a little bit of knowledge. My name is Neil, and I will be your host for today's special Halloween-themed episode. If you're listening to this during our premiere, then it is October 31st, 2017, and this is our special Halloween episode. Joining me, as always, in the studio are Matt, Ken, and Jeff. How's it going, guys?
And that was a pretty spooky intro. I don't know if I can handle this.
I got chills.
Yeah, it's a little spooky in here. I was just thinking that, to be honest.
Sort of a ghoulishly grim afternoon here.
Dead body in the corner.
Yeah.
There is if you guys are familiar with the beat the zombie, escape room thing where you have to figure out clues before a zombie touches you, there is a zombie in the corner of the room, and every 5 minutes it gets closer and closer.
He's mostly just hanging out.
Well, he is. We gave him some magazines, a few chocolates. He's fine.
You lay out a nice spread for him. He's not going anywhere.
Yeah, little hummus. So
zombies love hummus.
So, like I said, today's Halloween. So we're trying to do a Halloween-themed game here. I did my best to find questions that weren't your normal Halloween fare, like what's the animal that crosses you and you have bad luck, black cat, things like that. So I tried to find as many different questions as I could, but knowing me, a lot of them veer toward film and horror movies, but I tried to restrain myself and make it accessible.
My younger brother was born on Halloween, so he used to tell everybody when we'd go around trick-or-treating as kids, and he was always cuter than me anyways, so he would always get double candy. So Halloween is not a holiday that I personally enjoy, but
You have a very frightening memory of the...
When I was a kid, I went trick-or-treating, and I was like 8 or 9. I went as Darkwing Duck, and it was a homemade costume, so I was wearing this like witch's hat and doing this thing. And then this lady opens the door and she's like, "Oh, look at the little girl is a witch." And I was mortified.
That's frightening.
It was very...
That too is frightening.
Yeah.
I think that beats my story.
Yeah.
I was a pretty good little kid, so I didn't get into too much mischief on Halloween. Just kind of went about my business and collected my candy.
He was the kid putting razor blades in the candy bars for other kids.
No, nobody does that.
No one does. Yeah,
Actually, that's true. They did a study.
I know it's true.
I've seen a few haunted house, or excuse me, I've seen a few houses that we went to when I was younger where, it was answered by what I now know is adults in lingerie, and I wasn't sure if they were dressed up at the time, but I realize now that they were just,
they
enjoying themselves.
They weren't headed out to Rocky Horror afterwards.
They were not. Speaking of Halloween and costumes, as quick as you can, I'm just going to name you. Just give me 3 Halloween costumes that you had as a child that you remember. Jeff.
My favorite was Red Power Ranger.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, nice.
That was the only one that mattered.
Only one that mattered. All right, Ken.
Definitely know that I was Grim Reaper one year, and it was kind of hood where nobody could see my face. So walked into the classroom, nobody knew it was me.
That's good, Matt.
And consecutively, I went as Donatello, Leonardo, and Michelangelo.
Ah, nice.
As most kids growing up in the 90s.
What happened to the fourth one?
I was too old to be Raphael. They don't want 14, 15-year-olds. Yeah.
I'll post these pictures if I remember, or someone reminds me, but I believe 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade, this session was, I was The Undertaker. Mm-hmm. 5th grade, 4th grade, I was The Mask, and my aunt tailored a full yellow suit. Because she was a tailor.
Wow.
And my 5th year, I was Dr. Green from ER. So
the full gambit of Neil there.
So on that note, let's get to the game. As always, it's 20 questions in a variety of topics worth 10 points apiece and split into 2 rounds.
Each more horrifying than the last.
Each more horrifying than the last, correct. At halftime, there will be a special swing round designed by me where our players can rack up some extra points. And they will enter the final round with the points that they have accumulated, and will have a chance to wager 0 to 30 points on 5 questions until the end of the game, when someone will be named the cream of the crop.
Yeah, no, I'm living in a nightmare, and I am the cream.
All right, here we go. The 1966 TV special, It's the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown, is memorable for many reasons. Another football kick attempted by Charlie Brown, Snoopy as the Red Baron, and one reoccurring joke during the trick-or-treating sequence that seemed to affect Peanuts fans around the world. For 5 points, what did Charlie Brown get while trick-or-treating? And for the other 5 points, what was his costume?
2-part question. It might be a first.
I think I
Triviality.
definitely know the first one, and the second one I think I know.
I think I'm good here.
I never really watched The Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown. The Christmas special was the one that I used to watch over and over as a kid, so I'm not very familiar, but I've got a couple guesses. So,
all right, Matt looked the most confident. Let's go with Matt.
I believe it's the iconic line, I got a rock. Rock being the thing he got, and I think he was just a sheet over his head ghost.
Okay, Ken?
Yeah, I remembered the line, I got a rock. And I think he had a pretty crappy ghost costume.
And Jeff?
I'm going to ruin the trend here. I guessed Apple because I couldn't remember, but I definitely remember the sheet over the head ghost, so I did go ghost.
Okay, so Jeff will only get 5 points, but the other guys were correct. It was a rock, and he was a ghost. Peanuts creator Charles Schultz wanted Charlie Brown to get a rock at just one house, but animator and voice of Snoopy, Bill Melendez, suggested it happen 3 times. Many viewers of the special were so affected by Charlie Brown not getting candy that after it first aired, Charles Schultz received bags and boxes of candy from all over the world labeled just for Charlie Brown.
Wow.
It was a ploy to get free candy.
I do like when fans send in obscure things in protest.
Yeah, we hate candy here. Just throwing it out there if you want to send some.
Snickers are my least favorite, so please don't send any of those.
Yeah, an anonymous Triviality fan mailed me a periodic table for some reason. I don't know why. On to question 2. West Virginia is only one of 2 states to be admitted to the Union during the Civil War. Can you name the other state, fittingly known as the Battle-Born State, that was admitted on Halloween, 1864?
Oh, not a Halloween question.
I'm locked in.
All right, Matt is in. Where's your head at, Jeff? I know the other day you said you're really good at state mottos. That's why I put this question here.
I don't remember the Battle-Born State being one that I'm familiar with, but I have an educated guess, so we'll go from there.
I'm having trouble with this one, so I'm going to take a stab. Stab at it.
Ooh, I like these terms
scary.
here.
Multiple stabs.
A stab. Let's start with Jeff.
Okay. Here's my logic. So West Virginia was admitted as a state to the north. So I figured maybe it was a state in the south. I can't remember exactly when it was. I'm pretty sure Texas was in before then, but I'm thinking a little bit westward. So I guessed Missouri.
Okay. Missouri. And Matt.
I'm in the similar region, and I'm hoping that the actual motto isn't getting lucky in this state, and I said Kentucky.
Okay. Ken.
I went further west. I know there's a lot of territories out in the further western United States, and I just went Nebraska as a guess.
Okay, well, Ken was the closest trying to go west. The actual state known as the Battle-Born State is Nevada. So Nevada was a sympathizer to the Union, and they wanted to rush them getting admitted to the Union so that they could vote President Lincoln in 1864. So Nevada rushed to send the entire state constitution by telegraph to the United States Congress before the 1864 presidential election, since they did not believe that sending it by train would guarantee its arrival on time. The Constitution was sent less than 2 weeks before the election, and the transmission took 2 days. It consisted of 16,543 words and cost over $4,300, equivalent to $65,000 nowadays. It was, at the time, the longest telegraph transmission ever made, a record it held for 17 years until a copy of the revised version of the New Testament was sent by telegraph on May 22nd, 1881.
So even back in the day, the system was rigged.
Yeah. I'm going to give you some references here, and you guys will figure out the question. Gotham City's psychiatric hospital for the criminally insane, the creature that Cartman instructs to kill Justin Bieber on South Park, and the Book of the Dead in the Evil Dead series are all references to what author who received posthumous fame for works in the macabre. And I do want to remind everyone listening to this episode that just make sure to keep in the back of your head that this episode is Halloween themed.
And that you'll die after 7 days of listening to it. Just to be clear, that's not a threat. It's more of a supernatural sort of thing.
The movie would never happen now because no one would have a VHS player anywhere.
Yeah, you'd have to get a Snapchat for 10 seconds.
Guess I just can't watch this.
All right, let's start with Jeff. He looked the least confident.
So the only reference that I know for sure, I'm not a big fan of watching South Park, or so I haven't really seen any of it. And Evil Dead I watched very briefly about 15 years ago, so I couldn't tell you offhand. But the Batman reference I do get, so I guessed Arkham because that's Arkham Asylum.
Okay, Arkham was the reference that I was looking for there to help you out. Matt?
Yeah, I just put Arkham too because that's the only thing that I knew.
Okay, and Ken?
So there's the Arkham reference from Batman. Maybe the South Park thing was Cthulhu. I went with H.P. Lovecraft.
Ken was right on the money. Arkham, Cthulhu, and Necronomicon were all references to H.P. Lovecraft. Stephen King called Lovecraft the 20th century's greatest practitioner of the classic horror tale. He said Lovecraft...
After himself, of course.
After himself. He said Lovecraft was responsible for his own fascination with horror and the macabre and was the largest figure to influence his fiction writing. Lovecraft's chief influence was Edgar Allan Poe.
It's kind of funny. I would have guessed Cthulhu and the Necronomicon, but neither would have gotten me to Lovecraft because I'm not very familiar. So,
Yep. Number 4, I think Matt's going to have hopefully a little bit of an easier time on this one. WWE star Chris Jericho took his ring name and the name of his submission maneuver, Walls of Jericho, from the debut album title of this German power metal band currently on their Pumpkins United World Tour.
German power metal?
German power metal band on its Pumpkins United World Tour.
And Walls of Jericho was the
name of the album.
I am locked in.
I'm in with a guess.
Let's start with Matt.
The only power metal band I could think of is Rammstein.
Okay. Jeff?
I went Rammstein.
Okay.
Yeah,
and Ken?
You must hate me for asking this question.
Du hast.
But I went with Rammstein.
Firefly.
All right. Unfortunately, there will be no points on this question. The reason it's called Pumpkins United World Tour is the O in their name has always been a jack-o'-lantern, and they are the band known as Helloween.
Oh, yeah. I have heard of Halloween.
I saw them live. They were very good.
They're kind of a novelty thing, like a Guar type.
Yeah, they've been
Or
together.
Rammstein.
They've been together about over 25 years or so.
Okay.
Great band though. Check them out. Chris Jericho's a huge fan. All right. Question 5. Normally our listener submitted question. If you have a listener submitted question, please send it in to trivialitypodcast@gmail.com and list the host you would like to read it. We don't have any for this question.
This
so
one had to be extra scary. So
if you have one about Halloween, please wait a few months before you send it to us.
Yes.
We're not going to do
12
one of these
months, please.
Preferably 12
or
months.
at least put in the email. Do not open until October 2018. Okay.
We'll definitely not forget about it.
I'll start. It'll be fine.
Here's the first. Here's question 5. Usually, my German or French friends only speak in affirmative expressions. That is until I pull out a planchette, a board, and use the ideomotor effect. That's when we really start to communicate. What exactly are we doing?
Gotcha. I'm in.
This is upsetting.
I don't know. Can you go one more time with that?
Yep. Usually, my German or French friends only speak in affirmative expressions. That is until I pull out a planchette, a board, and use the ideomotor effect. That's when we really start to communicate.
Oh.
What exactly are we doing?
This is the game based off the horrible movie Ouija.
All right, Ken?
Yep, it's Ouija. I believe the planchette is the
It is.
the little glass that moves around.
Yeah.
And Jeff?
I said Ouija.
All right, so if, as I said, German or French friends speaking in affirmative actions,
Oui.
French is we and German is ja or ja. So playing with a Ouija board, correct? Actually, let's do a little score recap here. Matt has 20, Ken has 30, and Jeff has 15. So pretty close game still. All right, question 6. In 2009, internet forum poster Eric Knudsen, using the pseudonym Victor Surge, entered a Photoshop contest to alter everyday photographs into something paranormal. He created this figure that immediately went viral, spawning its own mythos, and among other incidents, motivated a near-fatal stabbing attack in Waukesha, Wisconsin in 2014.
Oh, me and Ken were in on that like immediately.
Yeah, I got this.
I don't know, but I'm in.
Yeah, that stabbing incident was pretty brutal.
Pretty brutal.
Very unfortunate.
Well, Jeff didn't really know, but let's start with Jeff.
I said the Virgin Mary.
Okay, Ken?
So this character wears a suit because I believe he's an attorney with Slenderman and Slenderman.
Yeah.
It is the Slender Man.
All right, and Matt?
Yeah, it's definitely Slenderman.
It is Slender Man. So if you guys might be familiar with the court case. HBO just released a documentary last year about it. And both girls actually just recently of this year had declared insanity, and they both were sent to a mental hospital. So
it's really unfortunate that something that was meant to just be fun and kind of creepy turned into something negative like that.
And luckily, the victim in the attack did survive. So
well wishes.
Yeah, well wishes. Yeah. All right, question 7. For one day a year on Halloween, Hollywood blacklists this product made of polymer resin, plasticizer, surface active agent, and a propellant.
I'm in.
All right, Jeff in quickly.
Same here.
Ken, all right, and
Damn
Matt is
it.
thinking. I was hoping the science would speak to Jeff like the voices he hears on Halloween night.
If only just that night.
Ooh.
I don't know. Okay, I have an answer.
All right, let's start with Matt.
I just put candy corn.
Candy corn. Okay. Let's go to Jeff.
I guessed silly string.
Okay. Let's go to Ken.
I think spray paint.
Ooh, both very, very good guesses, but the correct answer is silly string.
Only both were good guesses.
Well, I was trying to think of, when you said that, I was trying to think of where the plasticizer would be and the surface agent, but
so it's like
I took a guess.
You mean like the area of Hollywood, or
the city of Hollywood bans it every for one day a year because of the mess and
right?
And
it's like how convenience stores won't sell eggs to kids like up to 2 days before Halloween at some cities or whatever.
Don't forget eggs last 3 days, so you can get them a couple days ahead of that.
Yeah.
Moving on to question 8. My neighbor has a decoration on their lawn that reads, "He was so brave, he was so cute, until he forgot his parachute." What is the 7-letter word for this inscription?
Oh, I got it.
I was kind of confused about what you were asking, but now I understand.
I wish you were still confused.
And if anybody misses this question, they'll be eliminated from the game via buzzsaw.
Oh no, bad news for me because I can't think of the term for it.
Didn't you know that's the new rules for the Halloween theme?
Oh, that's the worst sound.
That was a terrible chainsaw.
We will cut in a better chainsaw sound effect.
What are your thoughts on this, Matt?
Well, it's the inscription on a tombstone.
There you go. Okay.
But I don't know the name of it.
Pepperoni and cheese.
Yeah. Would be. Oh, okay.
Jeff.
I said epitaph.
Okay. Ken?
Yeah, I'm thinking of the famous punk labels. The one with epitaph.
Okay, and Matt.
Ken took my reference. I was going to do that. It's epitaph. Yeah.
That's correct. Great job, Matt, pulling that at the last second there. I was going to include a punk reference, but I decided not to see if you guys could
That
pull
would have
it.
got it right away then.
And you did it. So
my demo's in the mail for Mr. Brett.
Still.
Of Epitaph Records.
All right, on to question 9. This one should be kind of fun. It's a little bit of a Hollywood poem, basically about some former crushes of mine, and we'll see if you guys can figure this out, okay? First, it was Christy back in 92. Luke Perry, Donald Sutherland made up her crew. In 1997, Sunnydale had Sarah. Same character, same badass, in a different era.
So we're looking for an actress?
I'm looking for the name of a character.
Got it.
That they both played.
That's lovely.
What was the later year?
97. Christy and Sarah both played the same character I'm looking for. And I had a crush on both incarnations.
I don't know. Let's move on.
Okay,
Just
so
move
are you
on.
tapping out, Jeff?
Yeah.
All right, Jeff is tapping out. Let's go to Matt.
That would be Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
And Ken.
Yeah, I finally got to Buffy after I thought about the name Sarah. Immediately, Sarah Michelle Gellar came to mind. I was like, oh, yeah.
I forgot Buffy was a movie.
Yep. So it was Christy Swanson in the 1992 movie and Sarah Michelle Gellar in the 1997 TV series Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
It's good crushes.
Mm-hmm.
Not bad.
Yeah.
I don't really remember the movie Buffy.
Yeah, when I was in 6th grade, up until about 21, I used to wear a clotter ring, which is an Irish ring that has a heart with hands around it. I wore that ring because David Boreanaz wore it in Buffy, and I thought if I had that ring and Sarah Michelle Gellar ever met me, that we would be together.
You'd have a story.
Man. Are you sure you want to keep that in the podcast?
I don't wear it anymore.
Bones himself, David Boreanaz.
Nice cameo by...
He doesn't wear it anymore because now it's inside of him.
Yeah, that's how I got through security.
It's implanted.
Yeah, Hilary Swank in the original movie, Paul Rubens, a lot of cameos. Rucker Hauer is the villain. So here's our final question of round 1. You guys are doing really well. Everyone knows that Jigsaw is behind the torturous contraptions in the Saw franchise. What is the name of the puppet with crystal clear messages?
Jigsaw by proxy.
No, the puppet actually has a name.
Yeah, I'm just trying to wrap my head around the fact that his name isn't Jigsaw. So that for sure.
So yeah, Jigsaw is the actual killer.
He's the old man.
Is the mastermind. But
Spoilers, please.
for Saws 1, 2, and 4, I think.
Also, never seen Saw.
You haven't seen Saw?
I haven't seen Saw.
I see Saw all the time.
There is a clue in there. I try to give clues in every question.
I know.
I actually learned this myself. I didn't know it had a name.
Yeah.
And I looked it up. All right, let's go with Jeff first.
I went Buzz Saw or Buzz.
That's not bad.
It's pretty good. Matt?
Crystal Pepsi. I actually can't
Also a
think
good guess.
I can't think.
Ken?
I just felt his name was maybe like Puzzles. Puzzles the puppet.
Why is it called Puzzles?
That's the puzzle.
That's the puzzle.
Jigsaw.
So his name actually, funnily enough, is Crystal Pepsi the puppet. No, I'm just kidding. His name is Billy the puppet.
Billy Crystal.
Billy the puppet. After round 1, the scores are pretty close. In third place is Jeff with 35 points. Second place, Matt with 50 points. And in first place, currently, Ken with 60 points.
Good start, guys.
Might be one of my best rounds ever, to be honest.
This is fun so far. Fun is about to end as we sacrifice one of the Triviality members.
Galima. Galima.
I am not having fun.
Jeff is not.
I define fun by the amount by which I'm winning.
I believe Samara has left a corpse in our closet.
All right, now we're on to the swing round. So basically, it's a before and after. You're going to get 2 references, and you will put those together. One that I use often that isn't in this round is Tommy Lee Jones' Coen Brothers film where he's a cowboy and meets Will Smith erasing people's memories who see aliens. So it would be No Country for Old Men in Black. So there's going to be 10 of these worth 5 points apiece.
Okay.
10 is a real swing round.
Yeah.
And really quick, before we start this, I think Max von Sydow is waiting outside to be let in to see Reagan.
I cast you out, unclean spirit. Shut up, you're.
The power of Christ compelled.
He's so good.
All right, so I think you guys will get this. It's pretty fun. It's very Halloween themed. They're probably not too hard, but a lot of them I will say are Universal monsters or monster movies or music. They're all Halloween themed. So just think of it that way. Characters from famous horror stories.
Forgive me, Neil.
Forgive me, John. All right, number 1. Here we go. He performed the solo instrumental track "Eruption" to a sold-out crowd in Transylvania. Number 2, she left 3 grooms at the altar before being set up with Boris Karloff, who she swiped right on. Number 3, an amphibious humanoid beast interrupts a young Brooke Shields from learning about love on a colorful tropical island. All right, number 4, Stephen King's creepy offspring at the University of Nebraska. Number 5, a lycanthrope who moonlights as a stockbroker in New York.
Finally.
Oh, yeah. Dear God. That took way too long before I got one.
Number 6,
Yeah, I haven't gotten any of these except for that one.
H.G. Wells' title character as he listens to R.E.M.'s tribute to Andy Kaufman. Number 7, what a show-off. He wrote The Telltale Heart while flying an X-Wing for the Resistance.
I like that one.
I forgot his last.
Good.
Number 8, Nickelodeon horror anthology about Jim Henson's Gelflings and Mystics. Number 9, Clive Barker's Pinhead vehicle in the main event of WWE's October pay-per-view. So I'm looking for the movie that Clive Barker's character Pinhead is in the main event of WWE's October pay-per-view. And number 10, Thomas Harris's most famous antagonist as a tall stand with a sloping top to hold a book or notes.
You know what really sucks is when I get like some of the references and I'm like, I know what he's talking about, but like I just don't know the
I have
names.
a lot of something, answer something.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to read through these clues one more time as a note if you're listening. Try to get one of them, and once you get one of them, I put them in order of appearance. So if you know the first one, that means the end of that first clue is going to lead into the second one. So keep that in mind. Number 1, he performed the solo instrumental track Eruption to a sold-out crowd in Transylvania. Number 2, she left 3 grooms at the altar before being set up with Boris Karloff, who she swiped right on. Number 3, an amphibious humanoid beast interrupts a young Brooke Shields from learning about love on a colorful tropical island.
I should watch more movies.
Number 4, Stephen King's creepy offspring at the University of Nebraska.
That one I'm proud of. I got that one. Don't think.
Oh.
Number 5, a lycanthrope who moonlights as a stockbroker in New York.
No.
And I can give you an extra hint on that one if you need.
Yes.
Directed by Martin Scorsese.
No, it doesn't help.
Well, that's not the part I was struggling with.
6, H.G. Wells' title character as he listens to REM's tribute to Andy Kaufman. 7, what a show-off. He wrote The Telltale Heart while flying an X-Wing for the Resistance. 8, Nickelodeon horror anthology series about Jim Henson's Gelflings and Mystics. Number 9, the movie in which Clive Barker's character Pinhead exists if he were the main event of WWE's October pay-per-view.
This one's a little light on the before and after.
Yeah.
I think it's a little bit of a stretch.
Yeah, I was rushing on this last one. So
Oh. Yeah,
Clive
I guess
Barker's
it works.
character Pinhead, if he was in the film of the main event of WWE's October pay-per-view.
I don't get any of those references.
I get it.
We said it a bunch today, Jeff, if you listen. All right, and number 10, Thomas Harris's most famous antagonist if he was a tall stand with a sloping top to hold a book or notes. Extra hint, typically used by a public speaker or preacher.
Yeah, I got that part. Can I get that one again?
Thomas Harris's most famous antagonist if he were a tall stand with a sloping top to hold a book or notes, typically used by a preacher or public speaker.
I'll be lucky if I get 3 of these.
All right, so after some time for them to consider, we'll now give out the answers. I know some of these were pretty hard, but I feel like if you guys boil them down, you'll figure them out. All right, the first one was he performed the solo instrumental track Eruption to a sold-out crowd in Transylvania. Let's start with Jeff.
I don't know who did the solo track Eruption. I figured there was a Dracula reference, but I couldn't get there, so I have blank Dracula.
Okay. Ken?
Blank Dracula.
Okay. And Matt?
Eddie Van Helsing.
Eddie Van Helsing is correct. Eruption was the famous Eddie Van Halen solo on Van Halen 1. And Van Helsing was the protagonist in Dracula.
That's, yep. If I had Van Halen, I probably would have
I've seen a lot of amateur guitar videos of people trying to play this solo.
Oh, no, see, my problem is I've probably seen all the same videos, but they just say like Van Halen guitar solo and they don't say Eruption.
All right, number 2. She left 3 grooms at the altar before being set up with Boris Karloff, who she swiped right on. Let's start with Ken, who figured it out at the last minute.
I want to go with Runaway Bride of Frankenstein.
All right, Jeff?
I, too, was channeling Julia Roberts and went Runaway Bride of Frankenstein.
And Matt?
I'll make it a sweep. Runaway Bride of Frankenstein.
You guys got it. See, once you guys boil them down, it's a lot easier.
No. It gets much worse from here.
We'll see what happens.
That's 2 for 2, and that's where he's going to stand, apparently.
And the reason I put swiped right on that one is if you guys know the famous ending of Bride of Frankenstein, spoilers, she does not like him, and he burns down the castle because he's so angry. That's what happens when you get put into the friend zone. All right, number 3. An amphibious humanoid beast interrupts a young Brooke Shields from learning about love on a colorful tropical island. Ken?
So you got to figure this is either, once again, Swamp Thing or Creature from the Black Lagoon. Since you're talking about a colorful island, I'm kind of taking a guess here because I don't know the movie reference, but I'm going Creature from the Blue Lagoon.
Okay. Matt?
All I had was Creature from the Black Lagoon, so I said Creature from the Black Lagoon Island.
Okay, and Jeff?
I can't believe I didn't get that. I'm pretty sure Ken's right with Creature from the Blue Lagoon, but I said Creature from the Black Lagoon because that's all I could get.
All right, well, there wasn't a lot of negative press from parents that Brooke Shields was basically half naked the entire film of Blue Lagoon, so it was the Creature from the Blue Lagoon. Ken got 5 points on that one. All right, next one. Stephen King's creepy offspring at the University of Nebraska. Jeff figured that one out right away. What was it, Jeff?
I said Children of the Corn Huskers.
All right, Matt.
All I had was Cornhuskers, and it makes so much more sense now when Jeff says it.
And Ken.
Yeah, I didn't know about the University of Nebraska thing, but I was able to get to Children of the Corn, and I remembered something was called the Cornhuskers, so Children of the Cornhuskers.
Children of the Cornhuskers,
If
correct.
you've ever been to Memorial Stadium, I
not.
have, yes. Very cool place. And in fact, the whole town of Lincoln's pretty cool. But it just says Huskers. So it took me a minute. I was like, Huskers, got it, Cornhuskers. So I was able to work that out pretty
Good. I'm glad you guys got that one. Jeff had a little bit of trouble with the first part of this one initially. A lycanthrope who moonlights as a stockbroker in New York. Matt, what do you got?
Oh, I have no idea. I said something Wall Street.
Okay. Jeff?
Wolfman of Wall Street or Wolf of Wall Street? I wasn't quite sure.
Well, a lycanthrope is a werewolf, so Werewolf of Wall Street.
It is Werewolf of Wall Street.
That makes sense.
Originally, the clue was going to be Lon Chaney Jr. in Martin Scorsese's Tale of a Stockbroker. That would have been the Wolfman of Wall Street, but I just went a little more general. So, Werewolf of Wall Street. Number 6, H.G. Wells' title character as he listens to REM's tribute to Andy Kaufman. Let's start with Ken.
That's the Invisible Man on the Moon.
All right, Matt.
I had Millennium Man on the Moon.
Okay, and Jeff.
I was going with a wolf theme. I went Wolfman on the Moon.
Okay, not a bad guess, but Ken is correct. It is the Invisible Man on the Moon.
Yeah, that jogs my memory.
The next one is What a Show-Off. He wrote The Telltale Heart while flying an X-Wing for the Resistance. Let's start with Jeff.
I couldn't remember where you're going with this, so I went William Shakespeare in Love.
Okay, nice. Matt?
No, it's Poe something, and I can't remember the stupid guy's last name, so I have Poe ...
All right, and Ken?
Edgar Allan Poe Dameron.
Poe Dameron.
Edgar Allan Poe Dameron.
Dameron.
Or Dameron.
Or Dameron, however you want to say it. Yep. Played by Oscar Isaac. All right, number 8.
Yeah.
Nickelodeon horror anthology series about Jim Henson's Gelflings and Mystics.
Let's give this one to Matt.
Matt.
Oh, I have Are You Afraid of the Dark Shadows?
Ooh, very good guess. Very good guess. Jeff?
I went more the Harry Potter theme, and I went Are You Afraid of the Dark Lord?
Ooh, okay. And
Are you
Ken?
afraid of the Dark Crystal?
Dark Crystal is the Jim Henson film about Gelflings and Mystics.
What was Dark Shadow? That's a
vampire series. Yep. Number 9, Clive Barker's film starring Pinhead. If it was the main event of WWE's October pay-per-view.
Mm-hmm.
Let's start with Jeff.
Oh, I have no idea.
Okay, Ken.
So this one, I felt you broke the pattern a little bit in that it starts with one and ends with another because it's kind of in the middle. But the best I could do was Hellraiser in a Cell.
Okay.
For Hell in a Cell and Hellraiser.
And Matt.
Yeah, if he was main eventing, he'd be in a triple threat with Shane McMahon and Kevin Owens tonight in Hellraiser in a Cell.
That is correct. Hellraiser in a Cell. That one was a little bit of a stretch, but I was running out of ideas here.
I'll take it.
But you guys got it, so it was good.
That one was extra scary.
Extra scary.
Because of the element of the unknown.
Well, just think of the entrance that Hellraiser would have coming into the cell. And
it'd be just like Kane's.
Yeah, exactly. All right, the final one. If you don't know who Thomas Harris is, you might have a little bit of trouble with this one.
And I did.
All right, so Thomas Harris's most famous antagonist is a tall stand with a sloping top to hold a book or notes. Let's start with Matt.
No. I'm sure it's Lectern. If it's, I don't... I know what it is, but I have nothing.
Oh, a lectern. Hannibal lectern. But that's not what I put. I thought you were going for podium.
I had podium,
so
and then I realized it was
anthropodium.
Okay, not bad. And Jeff?
I just had podium with a question mark, but Hannibal Lectern is so good.
It is Hannibal Lectern, everyone.
As soon as I looked at my sheet, I'm like, no, it's Lectern. Oh, it's Hannibal Lectern.
That's pretty funny.
All right.
I am sucking today.
Jeff did not fare so well in the swing round. He got 10 points. Matt just one more, got 15. And Ken did surprisingly well, got 40 points in that round.
Surprisingly.
Yes. Much like Dracula, Jeff is sucking today.
Going into the second round, Jeff has 45, Matt has 65, and Ken has extended his lead to 100. So it's going to be very interesting here going into the second round. These questions...
really quick, Neil, have you always had all these stuffed birds hanging around your room?
No, and please ignore the hole where you can see into the bathroom. We don't want to creep on anyone.
I said that's a glorious joke.
No.
That's not what he's talking about.
I know.
Psycho.
I'm aware.
Yes. Just change the shower curtain.
So, speaking of horror movies. Camp Crystal Lake from Friday the 13th. How about in this room? In what order do we survive?
I think I'm first because I would be the immediate let's split up, and then I go up by myself.
Let's split up, I'm going to go up the stairs in this house.
I feel like I would be the kind of not so like well equipped, but kind of likable character who kind of goes like second or third to last.
Yeah, I think Jeff would be long-windedly explaining something and get stabbed from behind in the middle of it. That's the deep blue sea.
Well,
death.
actually, Saturn or Venus doesn't have any moons, guys.
Are you eating some Halloween candy right now?
We just got back from trick-or-treating, so there's quite a bit on the tape.
Going into round 2. These questions I think are going to be a lot easier because I was up pretty late and I was rushing because I couldn't figure out the ones I wanted. So hopefully everyone will have a nicer round here.
So it's going to be a scary listening experience.
Scary listening experience. Question 1. What band, known as a horror punk band, covered 1962's song Monster Mash?
I have a guess.
Okay.
Can it be Halloween again?
It cannot be Halloween again.
I considered it. I don't have an answer. I can't think of... I mean, I feel like I should know this, but I've got nothing.
So if you were to make a Halloween-themed or a horror-themed punk band, what would the name of your band be?
That's a great question.
So Jeff taps Matt.
I think something like the Horror Pops is something I was thinking of.
Okay, and Ken.
That might be a better guess than what I had, but I put the most well-known horror punk band is the Misfits, but I don't really recall a Monster Mash cover, but I went with the Misfits.
They are known as the foremost authority in horror punk, the Misfits.
I should have thought.
So they did that cover for a DVD release of an old stop-motion film, and then they actually re-recorded it a second time with a different riff and arrangement, but they did it twice, so it was the Misfits.
Well, it's a good thing I got that with my 7 Misfits tattoos, my Misfits shirt, my Misfits belt buckle, and my Misfits Zippo lighter.
Good thing. Question 2. Actor Tony Curtis played this skeptic who died of peritonitis secondary to a ruptured appendix at 1:26 p.m. on October 31st, 1926.
I have an answer.
Me too.
A skeptic?
But like an established time of death, too, I think is...
No. Sure.
That's his answer. Just
All right,
no.
let's start with Matt.
Penn or Teller. I don't know.
Jeff?
I think you're in the right genre. I went Harry Houdini.
Ken?
Yeah, I don't know what he played him in, but that's Harry Houdini that you're describing, or Eric Weiss, was it?
Mm-hmm. Eric Weiss. It was Harry Houdini, famously died on Halloween. Also a famous skeptic who inspired Penn and Teller. The story goes that he was punched 3 times when he wasn't ready by a college student. But some people say it didn't actually kill him, but it brought to light the fact that he had the problem with the appendix.
Yeah. If you had said magician or illusionist, I would have had it in about 3 seconds. But
that's why I wanted
I've never heard that referred to as a skeptic.
Well, he was a spiritual debunker.
Right.
So.
Do you remember the story about his...
I had a question about this towards the beginning of our podcasting days, I think. But
yeah, we were talking about how he wanted his mother was communicating with him but didn't call him by his given name.
Right.
Yeah, and the reason I didn't give the other clue is he's one of the most famous deaths actually on Halloween. So
gotcha.
Yeah. All right. Question 3. Pumpkins were not the first vegetable to be carved. Celtic people in Ireland were carving this root vegetable, commonly grown in temperature climates worldwide, for its white bulbous taproot.
I know this one without all the 800 extra clues at the end.
Me too.
Okay.
I went potato.
Okay. Let's go, Ken.
Yeah, without thinking too much, I said potato, but now there's a better answer, which I think Matt has available to him.
Yeah, you should definitely look up the pictures of them because they're terrifying. It's turnip.
Yep.
Turnip is correct.
I didn't bother thinking. That's how my game's going. I kind of checked out.
Perfect.
Jeff, if you reach out to Jeff, he'll be hosting up a Turned Up for Turnips, a turnip carving contest.
I figured much of Irish history has to do with abundance or lack of abundance of potatoes, so I just said potato.
Not a bad
without
guess.
thinking.
No, that was a good guess. This one might be a little hard. W.W. Jacobs is known for his often adapted short story following a couple who are granted 3 wishes that come with an enormous price for interfering with fate. Those wishes are powered by a package containing the paw of what title animal?
No, this is actually very easy for me. And probably Matt, too. due to a
Probably.
certain
Yellowstone
cartoon.
I don't know the cartoon. I've got an answer, but
All right, let's start with Jeff.
I mean, if you're thinking about luck and animals' paws, I went rabbit.
Okay, good guess. Ken?
There's a famous Treehouse of Horror episode of The Simpsons where they receive a cursed monkey paw.
Okay, and Matt.
And I also put monkey.
So I'm not too versed on The Simpsons. I don't really watch it, but apparently there is a reference there. It is a monkey. It's a monkey paw. All right, on to question 5. This one actually is a listener-submitted question, but not for the Halloween episode. It comes from our friend David Raffetto. I actually altered this question slightly to fit the theme of this game. Hope you don't mind, David. Here it goes. It was Halloween night, and only 10 minutes before curfew remained, a flurry of knocks came upon my door, and as I opened it, a small child held out a bag in front of me. I said, "Interesting costume, kid," and he responded with, "Well, we can't all be lion tamers." He told me he was dressed up as the 1963 Best Picture winner, shot in Jordan, Morocco, and Spain. You might know this costume by what name?
1963 Best Picture.
1963 Best Picture winner, shot in Jordan, Morocco, and Spain.
And the name of the movie is the name of the character, because that's how he's dressed up.
Yeah, pretty much. The name of the character is in the title of the film. Is
Okay,
hint I'll give.
I'm good.
I'm just having an off day. I'm not getting anything.
The true horror of this episode is your performance. Sorry, it's a Halloween episode. I had to make a joke.
You didn't, but you did anyways.
Jeff's been dead for 10 years.
Jeff's not even here, guys.
I've been dead longer than that.
The razor blade and all the apples we received are just slashing Jeff's score.
Want to give it?
I'm sure you'll get there, Jeff.
Oh yeah, I'm there. I finally. Oh god, that took forever.
I don't know very many movies of this era, so I just put Ben-Hur.
Okay, that's a really good guess.
It is a good
Jeff?
guess. It's wrong.
I did Lawrence of Arabia.
That's better. Right?
Okay, and Ken.
Yeah, I figured somewhere in the 3.5 hours, we can't all be lion tamers might have been buried there in Lawrence of Arabia. The locations sounded very familiar to me.
That's Charlton Heston, right?
No, Peter O'Toole.
Or Peter O'Toole. Okay.
Charlton Heston was Ben-Hur.
Yeah. Okay, that's
mentioned. Yep.
Which is right.
It is Lawrence of Arabia. That is correct. Thank you, David Raffetto, for that question. I hope you didn't mind that I altered it for our Halloween-themed episode.
That took me way too long.
Ben-Hur's earlier, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, number 6. In 1997, the village of North Tarrytown, New York, officially changed its name to this fictional town that uses it as inspiration. Hint, their local school's sports team is named the Horsemen.
I am in.
All right, let's start with Ken on this one.
I believe that would be the Johnny Depp classic, Sleepy Hollow.
Oh.
Okay, Matt.
One of my favorite Fox shows, Sleepy Hollow.
And Jeff.
I said Ichabod Crane.
All right, well, that was you were there. It is Sleepy Hollow. The story by Washington Irving takes place in New York. And for your trivia buffs out there, Sleepy Hollow was actually paired with Rip Van Winkle in Washington Irving's collection of stories. So those were his 2 most popular stories from that collection. All right, question number 7. Medically known as cutis anserina or horripilation, you might recognize it a little easier if I said, "Say cheese and die."
Oh, got it. Finally won.
Okay, I'm in.
All right, everyone was in pretty quickly on that one. I'm proud that one at least struck a nerve with you. Let's start with Jeff.
Guessing you're getting at the R.L. Stine classic, Goosebumps.
Okay, Ken?
Yeah, I was like, when you were reading it, I was like, this is a skin condition, and the hint put it over the edge. Goosebumps.
Yeah.
Matt?
I didn't want to have a Night of the Living Dummy or whatever the rest of those books are called. I put Goosebumps.
Goosebumps is correct. I was going to give more clues, but I feared Say Cheese and Die is a pretty
What was the one with the
recognizable
mannequin?
The dummy one.
The dummy, yeah. Night of the Living
Dummy?
Yeah.
And do you know what his name was?
No.
Slappy.
Slappy.
That's terrifying.
My brother, yeah.
They're making a sequel to the movie that came out.
The movie
The
was
one that I had on
okay.
VHS?
Yeah. No.
That was like 30 minutes long.
Oh,
in
the brand new
1994.
movie from last
The
year.
Jack Black R.L. Stine
Where
movie.
Jack Black plays R.L. Stine.
It was actually okay. It wasn't phenomenal.
This one's going to be set
It's
in
entertaining.
Horrorland. It's supposed that haunted
I
theme park.
believe the VHS I had was a 30-minute version of Tower of Terror.
Yeah, with those kids
Yeah.
go back in time or whatever.
Yeah.
I remember watching that.
On to question 8, almost done with the second round here. While technically you don't need this many members, typically a witch's coven consists of ideally how many witches, according to folklorist Margaret Murray, representing the lunar calendar and signifying wholeness? So there is a lot of dispute about this number, but according to Margaret Murray, who sort of fashioned this idea, basically how many members do you need in a witch's coven?
Okay.
That's interesting.
All right. It looks like everyone is in.
Yeah, purely a guess. Just based on works of William Shakespeare, I just went with 3.
Okay. Good thinking there. Jeff?
I was trying to think. I was thinking of the movie with Bette Midler from the 90s where there's the
Hocus
3 witches.
Pocus?
Hocus Pocus.
Mm-hmm.
But then you were saying about the lunar calendar, which has 28 days. You could do 13 cycles in a year. So I actually settled on 13. Just seemed like an interesting number, especially for a Halloween episode.
Okay. And Matt?
Yeah, I was thinking of the movie The Craft, and there were 4 witches, and I'd figure there's 4 different cycles because you'd have a crescent, then half, then another crescent, and then a full, or however that worked out. So I just put 4.
All right. So, like I said, some people dispute this number, but according to Margaret, she was saying, based on the lunar calendar, like Jeff explained, it would be 13.
That was really good reasoning, Jeff.
The number 13, obviously, a lot of people say it's bad luck, but people in Italy, especially gamblers, 13 is a lucky number, so it just depends where you are.
None of us here suffer from triskaidekaphobia, right?
I was going to ask that, but you know.
Which is not fear of Friday the 13th, because that's triskaidekaphobia. Triskaidekaphobia is just fear of the number 13.
Jeff has 1 gulp of water, and all of a sudden he knows everything again.
I know, we're going to have to go back in time and see what happens. Question 9. Chicago is sometimes referred to as the second city, but if you need a heavy supply of apples for your bobbing contest, New York is actually second to this state in producing apples, the only one named for a president.
Oh, got it.
Well, I don't know that, but I'm going to stick with my answer.
Let me just think really quick so I make sure I'm not doing something stupid. All right.
Oh, I'm doing something stupid.
Yeah, clearly.
Oh, my God.
All right. I'm good.
All right, let's start with Ken.
Gotta go with Washington.
Yeah.
All right, Jeff.
Got to go with those Washington red apples.
Okay, and Matt.
Yeah, but originally I was thinking of our illustrious president, Michigan, and then realized that was stupid. And I went to Washington.
Washington apple growers produce 6 out of every 10 apples consumed in the United States.
Well,
The United States is the world's second largest producer of apples behind China.
well,
It's Washington, New York, and then Michigan.
Yeah, I know Michigan's really known for their apples.
All right, the final question of regulation. The world's largest pumpkin festival takes place annually in the gardens at the largest Baroque palace in this country, nicknamed the Versailles of Swabia. Or Swabia.
Oh, perfect.
It is Swabia.
That's a shame. I just heard something about the Pumpkin World Growing Championships. The record last year apparently had exceeded the previous year's record by 300 pounds, which is crazy.
Did you guys ever watch Pumpkin Chunkin' or whatever that show was called?
No.
It was, they put pumpkins on catapults and see how
I
far they
remember
could throw
that.
them.
I'm more
Or
into,
cannons.
they do like a pumpkin river race after this. They like hollow them out and then they do them like canoes.
I would give you the name of the palace, but it would give away
No,
the
it's
country.
fine.
I'm in.
Ken is in. Matt is in.
Maybe. Yeah, I settled on an answer.
Ken?
I really had no idea. I just had to go with Romania.
Okay. Jeff?
Right. So I went Russia.
Okay. And Matt?
I don't know. I figured they like pumpkins in Denmark based on no facts at all.
I was thinking maybe Sweden, but who knows?
All right. Well, Swabia is a cultural, historic, and linguistic region in southwestern Germany. It's in Germany.
Yeah.
And it takes place at the Ludwigsburg Palace.
Yep.
That probably would have gave it away.
I probably would have still guessed Austria, so no worries.
Yeah, I thought that would have given it away. After 20 questions, we have reached the end of regulation. Let me compile the scores here going into our final round. All right, in third place, bringing up his score a little higher, is Jeff with 95.
More than doubled from the half.
Closely in front of him is Matt with 115. And still running away right now is Ken with 170.
All hail the Pumpkin King.
And before we continue, I just want to thank Neil for putting his millions on the line and inviting us here to his home to stay the night.
House on Haunted Hill?
That's correct.
Yeah. All right, so I'm going to give you the categories. Like I said, I was trying to pull this game together fairly quickly, so might be a little tough. But category number 1 is going to be Halloween in history. So it's going to be some sort of event that took place on Halloween. The second category is going to be Monster Mash lyrics. So it's a question about the lyrics in Monster Mash. Number 3, British electronic music. Number 4, Halloween Night Football. So not Monday Night Football, but Halloween Night Football. And number 5, famously killed by times 3. So basically I'm going to ask you a question about a character who killed a certain character, and you have to get all 3 right in order to get your points. So just keep that in mind. And they all are movie characters, famous movie antagonists. All right, so the wagers are in, and we're going to go to this final round. Before we do that, just wanted to remind everyone, make sure to check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/trivialitypodcast. All right, here we go. Halloween in history. On Halloween in 1517, Martin Luther nailed what on the door of a Catholic church?
Oh my God.
Essentially launching the Protestant Reformation.
I'm so pissed.
I feel like,
in case anybody's curious, I know the answer and wagered nothing on this one, so.
I was not curious.
Number 2, Monster Mash lyrics. All right, so this is basically it. I'm going to give you 4 lines from the song, and there's one thing missing, and I will tell you what that is, and I just need the name. Now everything's cool, Drax a part of the band, and my Monster Mash is the hit of the land. For you, the living, this mash was meant to. When you get to my door, tell them who sent you. I'm looking for a name.
Got it.
Basically the narrator of the song, who sent you. All right. Number 3, British electronic music. While they didn't name one of their most successful hits after a young Stephen King Drew Barrymore film, this British electronic music group's name certainly applies to Drew, who was endowed with exceptional qualities or abilities at a young age.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Halloween Night Football, number 4. In 1994, the Chicago Bears played a game known as the Halloween Monsoon, where they were dominated in a 33-6 blowout in harsh weather conditions by what team not known for their ground attack? And question 5. Now, this is the only question I wanted to do this whole game. And remember, you have to get all 3 answers correct to receive points, but it should be fairly easy. I'm going to give you 3 famous actors or actresses who early in their career were killed by a famous antagonist in a well-known horror franchise. I will give you the actor and the movie, and all I need you to do is name the killer. You must get all 3 answers correct for points, for full credit. Here we go. Number 1, a young Johnny Depp in 1984's Nightmare on Elm Street. Full name here I need.
Of the actor or the
killer? I need the name of the killer from Nightmare on Elm Street, 1984's Nightmare on Elm Street. Number 2, Joseph Gordon-Levitt in 1998's Halloween H2O, 20 years later. And number 3, Kevin Bacon in 1980's Friday the 13th. Answers are in. We're going to start right at the top at question 1, which was Halloween in history. Matt bet 0 on this. Ken bet 20, and Jeff also bet 0, but I feel like Jeff regretted betting 0 on this one. I asked you, what did Martin Luther nail on the door of the Catholic Church in 1517? Let's start with Matt.
It's like a list of complaints or something, but I just put one of my favorite Usher songs and wrote, "These are my confessions."
Very nice. Let's go with Ken.
Yeah, I'm just kind of confusing this with different like philosophical writings and stuff like that. I remember maybe a number associated. I think it was 32 theses or theses.
Okay. And Jeff.
I was going to try and lead you there like a horse to
I'm
water
close,
and
right?
ask if
I'm
you
like really
if
close.
you knew about how many theses. But 4 less than the problems had by a famous rapper. He had 95,
95 theses.
It is the 95 Theses.
That was really close. Just the number wrong.
Ken lost 20 points in that question, so we'll see how that fares in our final scores here. Number 2 was in Monster Mash lyrics. I read a chunk of lyrics from the song, and I just asked you to tell me who in the song, the narrator, sent you when you get to the party. So let's start with Ken, who bets 0.
The Wolfman.
Okay, the Wolfman. Let's go to Matt.
Yeah, it's probably the Wolfman. I thought he was talking in like a Dracula voice the whole time, so I just said Dracula.
Yeah, but Drac's part of the band.
Yeah, but he could also be talking. Don't do this to me.
All right, and Jeff.
Tell them Ivan sent you.
Ooh, Jeff was
Is it
very confident.
Igor?
It's not Igor. It's not Ivan. It's Boris.
Oh, that's right, Boris.
Who's Boris?
Boris is just the narrator.
Maybe referring to Karloff.
Could be.
Does anyone know who the guests were at the party as named by the song?
I don't care.
Well, it's the Wolfman.
Wolfman,
Dracula and his son.
And his son. Yep. That was actually going to be the question, but I thought that'd be
That's
too easy.
too bad. Boris sent you. That's right.
Question 3, probably my favorite other than the last one in this round. Matt bet 0, Jeff bet 0, but Ken went big with 20. So basically, I'm looking for the name of a music group in relation to the definition of a person who's endowed with exceptional qualities or abilities at a young age. Let's start with Matt.
Well, the movie is E.T., and I couldn't think of anything, I believe. Or maybe it's something else. I don't know. I just put Supertramp.
Okay. All right. Jeff?
Isn't E.T. a Spielberg film?
Yeah, that's probably right. It's actually close.
And you asked about a Scorsese film?
Stephen King
film. Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. I actually had nothing for this one. I wagered nothing, so I didn't even bother to think about it.
Okay. Thank you for answering my question. And Ken, what do you have?
Well, British electronic is actually a very narrow subgenre that I'm interested in. So I did not have to walk too far into my mind field to find the answer is The Prodigy.
Correct. So the Drew Barrymore Stephen King adaptation was called Firestarter, which is a song by The Prodigy.
That makes so much sense.
I read Firestarter.
All right. Number 4 was Halloween Night Football.
Twisted Firestarter.
Leans a little bit toward Matt. I'm sure he got this one. But in 1994, the Chicago Bears were beaten badly by what team in harsh weather conditions? Let's start with Ken, who bet 0.
Since you said their ground game sucked, I just went with an airborne mascot, the Eagles.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Jeff actually bet 30 on this one. What do you have, Jeff?
I went a similar way. I went with something that's more useful off the ground. I went Jets.
Okay. And Matt?
Yeah, I remember this game, I believe, because I was about 9 years old, and I'm pretty sure they got destroyed by the Packers.
All right. Well, ranked by Brett Favre as one of his favorite games against the rival Chicago Bears, it was the Green Bay Packers who braved temperatures in the 30s, winds up to 50 miles per hour, and an onslaught of heavy rain to embarrass our team.
Yeah, I think Brett Favre actually had a 99-yard pass in that game to Robert Brooks because the guy fell down in the rain and he just ran unopposed for 99 yards. It was a real bad game.
I was going to guess the Packers, but I was trying to think if they had historically a bad ground game, but I guess they do.
Yeah. Well, at that time, they were known for just Brett Favre.
But even now, nobody really cares
Aaron
about the
Rodgers.
ground game.
So for this last question, it was the famously killed by ×3. Jeff went 0. Let's see if he mustered the effort to put an answer.
Nope.
He did not. All right. So definitely 0 on that one.
Find his lack of effort pretty scary.
So basically, I was looking for the killer in 1984's Nightmare on Elm Street, 1998's Halloween H2O, 20 years later, and 1980's Friday the 13th. So let's start with Matt.
Nightmare on Elm Street, Frederick Krueger, Halloween, Michael Myers, and then what was the last one?
1980's Friday the 13th.
Friday the 13th, Jason Voorhees.
Okay, and Ken, what do you got?
I also went with Freddy Krueger, Michael Myers, and for the last one, I do differ a little bit because the killer in the original Friday the 13th is Jason's mother, or Miss Voorhees.
So the answers were Freddy Krueger and Michael Myers, and I would have accepted either Mrs. Voorhees, Pamela Voorhees, or Jason's mom in the first film. That's why I specified 1980 because she was the original killer.
She was the killer. He was the killer in the second one, and the
She's
rest
all I
of them.
want. I've waited.
I was
so
actually
long.
going to do a Fountain of Wayne reference with Jason's mom. All right, after tabulating the scores, in third place for today's Halloween-themed game is Jeff with 35 points. In second place with a respectable 125 points is Matt. And in first place is Ken with 180 points and is today's Scream of the Crop.
That's a scream!
Yeah, I look forward to our Arbor Day episode.
Neil thought a previous game of mine was including no movie questions out of sheer spite. My next game might be out of sheer spite, but no, it's just because I don't have much reference in movies. So my media.
You can't spite me after you spited me, then I spited you back, and you can't come
You've
back
been,
again.
You've been re-spoten.
Yeah, we're even.
The vengeful spirit of Jeff lives on. R.I.P.
You'll be smote.
All right, well...
hold on, let me take a quick picture, Neil, to commemorate the game. So what's this bride standing behind you in this picture? It's kind of scary.
It is terrifying.
Thank you to Matt, Jeff, Ken, and the Annabelle doll in the corner for a great game. If you'd like to play along with our contestants, make sure to check out our Facebook page, download our official Triviality score sheet that we use here in the studio. Of course, if you'd like to get in touch with us, you can go to Twitter or Facebook at TrivialityPod, or email us all questions and comments to trivialitypodcast@gmail.com. If it's a question 5, make sure to put the hosts in the subject line so we can read that on a future episode. Of course, other than spreading the word and biting people in the neck, turning them into Triviality vampires, the best way you can support the show is by rating, reviewing, and subscribing to Triviality on your favorite podcast app. Until next time, or death do us part, on behalf of Ken, Matt, Jeff, and myself, that was Triviality.
Excuse me, Laurie.
Oh, Mr. Brackett, I'm sorry, Mr. Brackett.
Oh, I didn't mean to startle you.
That's all right.
You know, it's Halloween. I guess everyone's entitled to one good scare, huh?
Yes, sir. Nice seeing you, sir.